This is Hidden Killers with Tony Brueski.
That it is. Today we are taking another look at the baffling story of Ellen Greenberg. This is a case that we've been talking about for quite some time, but now finally we may be getting closer to maybe some justice here. Ellen Greenberg, the 27-year-old teacher from Philly, whose death back in 2011 has more twists than a roller coaster. Ellen was found in her apartment with over 20 stab wounds. And while her death was called a homicide, it was then switched to suicide. Now the medical examiner is backtracking and saying it might have been a suicide after all, saying it was something other than a suicide. Shavaun Scott, psychotherapist and author, joining us. Shavaun, from your perspective, how do you think these back and forth conclusions affect the family's ability to cope with a loss like this of their daughter? And we're talking now all the way back to 2011, 23 or almost 13, 14 years now.
Yeah, 14 years of hell for the family. And I think this has just been absolutely tormenting for them, knowing that there was something, a grave injustice, something terribly wrong with the medical examiner. I mean, what's his name? Marlon Osborne.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane. And the allegation that she killed herself by stabbing herself in the back, and it just is probably the weirdest one we've seen as far as being a potential cover-up, screw-up. Who knows what the whole story is, but I would imagine the family is greatly relieved at this point that at least it's going to be looked at.
Yes, I mean that's the plan anyway. There's been times in the past where it was opened and then closed and opened and closed. I just This is such a twisted one to kind of wrap your mind around, and I think that's the angle I want to take with this today, more so than just like the logistics of the crime or her stabbing herself after death, basically becoming a zombie. Because I mean, if that's what we're going to believe, if we're going to go off of the official story, which the official story includes two things that make no sense: post-mortem stab wounds and suicide. You can't have them both.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, it's one that, we talk about things often that are hard to believe. This may be number one as far as hard to believe. We should do a hierarchy of, these hard to believe stories that we hear, but this one, from the first time I read about it, it was just like absolutely impossible. Makes no sense.
I mean, the medical examiner, let's start with the bigger news of the last handful of days. Marilyn Osborne has said now that she thinks it was something other than suicide. She didn't go all the way to say homicide, but she did say something other than suicide. What are the options? Other accidental death by 20 stab wounds? I mean, I don't quite see. Okay, but the fact that she's making this statement now, all these years later, why do you think that is?
It's got to be the various forms of pressure that the parents have consistently shown that they're going to continue to fight on this. And I understand that there was an additional suit filed, and that's what spurred this. So good on the parents. I mean, it's been hell for them, but they're not giving up.
Without a doubt, and thank goodness they're not giving up. I know he made the father of Ella made a comment the other day, and I'm just kind of paraphrasing here of like, we could have done this a long time ago, but I'm happy it's happened now because they're getting older, and I think all they want is just to get this looked into. I know I've talked to them myself, and they're not even necessarily about let's go after this person or let's accuse this. It's just, look, let's start with square one. This wasn't a suicide.
Yeah.
So now that we're getting there and we're kind of getting to that place, there's still a lot of other stones to be turned over. The fact that this medical examiner is saying that in a civil case, it doesn't mean it changes what is actually on the death certificate. That's still there. It still says suicide, even though later on now she says, it's like she can't go back to her place of work from all those years ago and change some notes up. That's not how this is going to work. But we have it verbally said now by her. My bigger question to you, and I don't think anybody knows the answer, is why did it go that way in the first place? And why
Right.
would you change it now?
Right.
That seems a little bizarre. And I think questions need to be asked.
Yeah, definitely, because that's the part of this that smells so stinky is the fact it was initially not deemed to be suicide, then it was changed to suicide shortly thereafter. And so it just sort of screams again, is there some kind of cover up going on? What in the world? Why would that happen? It makes no sense.
It's a weird case where everything is backwards and everything is bizarre. And those of us who are like looking at it objectively, not just scanning over the newspaper going, oh, this is so sad. This woman committed suicide. On to the next story. And you look at it and go, what? Huh? But you have literally, I mean, the lack of investigators, because it wasn't investigated as a homicide. There was no prints ever taken from the knife. There was no fingerprinting of anything. There was no DNA test. Nothing. It's just all was like, oh, it's a suicide. We are done here, and everybody should look away. I don't understand that. What shocks me of this whole case is how that side of this, the non-Ellen Greenberg family side of this, everybody else on the other side of this, all just expected everybody to look away and nothing's going to be questioned. Don't look at anything here. Don't question anything here. And if you question anything here, how dare you? We're going to question you. Mental health is real. This is a real thing that people suffer from depression. Yeah, no shit. Nobody's questioning that people suffer from depression. People are questioning whether you have depression if it has an ability to bring you back from the dead and stab yourself in the heart.
Yeah. Yeah, and not to mention, as part of this bizarre story, the fact that they not only didn't do DNA testing or process the crime scene appropriately, they had the whole place scrubbed the next day.
Yeah. And
So,
again, for that just to be looked at as how dare you question anybody? How dare you think it's weird that a family member of the ex-fiance came in and scrubbed the place and took digital evidence and then eventually did return it? You can't do that.
no.
It's baffling. I know the ex has moved on with his life. I'm not accusing him of murder. I'm not accusing him of anything. I am asking what the hell happened here. How do you not beg for a further investigation to be done into this case? I'd just like to know the answers. If you love the woman, you care about the woman, and she's dead and she's been stabbed 20 times post-mortem, and you're just like, okay, time to move on. Good. I'm happy you can move on, and I hope you had absolutely nothing to do with this. Good for you. But it still doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
No, and the 911 call with the fiance is just another bizarre piece because when he was on the line with 911, he was saying, well, maybe she fell and hit her head. And so they were trying to coach him through giving her CPR. And he said, well, I really can't because of the knife sticking out of her chest. So, okay, there, again, weird that your mind would not go to she fell and hit her head if there's a knife sticking out of her chest, obviously. So that's.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of the most bizarre 911 calls I think we've ever heard. And I'll play some of it here for us in just a moment to take a listen to. Again, not saying the person on the call, the ex-fiance, is the killer. I am not at all. I just have questions. And I don't know why no one else asked these questions and why that family just seems to be like, oh, it was a suicide. What more do you need to know?
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot that's need to be known here. And for her own parents not be able to get any sort of justice on this is insane. Questions need to be answered. If my girlfriend or if previous times in my life, if my wife or my fiance was found stabbed 20 times in my home, and then I had my family member come in that's a high-powered official and be able to get in there and take the digital evidence out of the crime scene and somehow also convince no one to investigate the thing other than it's suicide? That's some amazing power, some amazing persuasion one must have over officials to be able to do something like that. Or were they just that incompetent and the whole family's like, well, it's what they said? I don't know the answers to these questions.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think in some families, there might have been displeasure at the results of the whole thing, the lack of investigation, the determining it to be suicide. Some families may have just not had the energy and the wherewithal to fight it, even if they didn't agree with it. But in this case, the family is diligent, they're smart, they're angry justifiably, and they're not going to just let it go. So good for them.
It's very much, it's like staring at the sun. You're like, don't stare at the sun, it'll blind you. That's not a good thing to do. And they're like, what sun? That really big, bright one right there that you don't want to, I don't see anything. It's beyond like, I mean, could this be cognitive dissonance where you somehow remove yourself from the situation so rapidly because it's so traumatic and you can't process it because it is so harsh? But then why are all the other people who are not traumatized by this, the officials who could be looking into this, also feeling that exact same way?
Right. It doesn't make sense. I think I would be in the same camp as you if one of my loved ones was, died under these kind of circumstances. I'd be leading the charge to try to figure out who was the real killer, what happened here.
Be making it your like mission in life.
Exactly.
I would
100%.
think. I mean,
Yep.
again, it does. Everybody deals with it differently. I get some people maybe they want to do something else and move on with their life. But again, questions need to be answered. You were there.
Yeah.
In the fact that, again, they weren't even asked is what's shocking to me. Let's take a listen to that 911 call. It's weird. Again, not saying this person had anything to do with it, but it's just weird and leaves far more questions than answered. We'll take a listen, maybe even pause it a little ways as we go through it. And if you want to break through with anything, just feel free to speak up and I will press the pause button. Here is a good chunk of that 911 call. This is her ex-fiance calling 911 when he finds her in the apartment dead. Let's take a listen.
Help! I need everything now. I just walked into my apartment. My fiance's on the floor with blood everywhere.
What is the address?
4601 Flat Rock Road. Please come help now.
4601
Flat Rock Road.
Is this a house or apartment?
Oh no! Oh no! It's an apartment.
What apartment number?
Please hurry, please.
Where is she bleeding from?
I don't know. I can't tell.
No, so you have to calm yourself down in order to get you some help.
I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm looking at her right now. I can't see anything. There's nothing broken. She's bleeding. Ellie!
You don't know where she's bleeding from? Can't tell where the blood's coming from?
I think her head. I think she hit her head, But it's up everywhere.
Okay,
I'm just going to pause there and ask you, what are you getting out of this so far? I mean, the fact, the person's jumping to a lot of conclusions here right away. I guess if you're kind of in that fog of war at the moment, you'd be trying to figure out, well, what did happen? Did she hit her head? What happened? But we're getting a lot of absolutes here, almost like right off the bat. What's your take on that?
Well, the first thing I think is odd is the hitting her head. When how would that account for blood everywhere and a knife sticking out of her chest? That's bizarre. And obviously he sounds very upset, very distressed, but we have seen time and time again, not saying he's a perpetrator, but we have seen time and time again when perpetrators, thinking of Alex Murdaugh, other similar cases where someone has been convicted of a crime and you play the 911 call and they're agitated and distressed and in this, state of mind. And so I think some people might say, well, listen to how upset he is. Obviously, he didn't have anything to do with it. we can't really say that for sure.
It's hard to say that here. I mean, there's just a lot of back and forth emotions that seem to be going on here, from extreme distress to almost just like, oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Let's keep listening here.
Everywhere.
She might have fallen. Do you know what happened?
She may have slipped. There's blood on the table. Her face is a little purple.
Okay, hold on for rescue for her. Stay on the phone.
Philadelphia Fire Department 842. What's the address? No,
4601 Flat Rock Road. Please hurry.
4601 Flat Rock.
Yes.
What's wrong?
I went downstairs to go work out. I came back up. The door was latched. My fiance's inside. She wasn't answering. So after about a half hour, I decided to break it down. I see her now just on the floor with blood. Like she's not responding.
Okay, is she breathing? Look at her chest. I need you to calm down, and I need you to look at her chest. It's really.
I really don't think she is.
Listen to me. Someone's on the way. Look at her chest. Is she flat on her back?
She's on her back. So I bring her.
Look at her chest and tell me if it's going up and down, up and down.
I don't see her moving.
Okay, do you know how to do CPR?
I don't.
Okay, I can tell you what to do, okay, until they get there. I want you to keep her flat on her.
God.
Hello?
Yeah, hi, okay.
Are you willing to do CPR with me over the phone until they get there?
I have to, right?
Okay, so get her flat on her back.
Let's pause it there. I have to, right? Who says that?
Who says that?
Your loved one is dead on the floor, and you at this point supposedly don't know anything about the knives. So, I get little later on where oh my God, there's a knife. Cool. You can't do it then, but you're already, I have to? I suppose I have to, right?
Odd. Very odd.
Here's another thing I had noticed about this, and it kind of came to me the other day. At the beginning of the 911 call, there's all this frantic, oh my God, he's acting as if he's investigated the scene already and then calling 911. But that's not what's happening on the phone call. He's acting as if all of this is brand new to him right at as he's going through the phone call. So where does this shock come from? She's on the ground, okay, but your first thing is not to go take a look at her and see what's going on before you call 911?
And try to verify that she's breathing right off the bat, and yeah.
That again does not make any sense to me. Does it make a murderer? No, but it sure looks really freaking weird. You could just be one of the stupidest people out there. I don't know. Or you could be in shock and just your mind is gone and you're not seeing it. But still, I mean, does this happen ever? Do we see it where people are in really horrible, bizarre situations where their loved one is dead and just utter basics seem to go out the window of, I don't know, checking on the person to see if they're alive or not? And then having all that emotion of I know what, I'm not saying he said he knew what happened, but he was acting as if he already did while he's examining it. Can that be explained?
I don't know that it can. I had the experience of walking in on a dead body unexpectedly once and trying to call 911, and I initially hit 411, directory assistance.
Yeah.
And then I tried again and I hit repair at 711. And, it was like, how hard is it to call 911? But when you're rattled, the brain does not always work right. You may get bizarre things. But this one, it definitely doesn't all add up.
I think the only thing I can think of, I mean, obviously just the cases that we're talking about, is the bizarreness of the Kohberger situation and the surviving roommate not having called 911 till much later in the day. Granted, she was a kid, just freshly into college. But that felt weird too. And I'm no way saying that person had anything to do with the Kohberger situation. Right. I have a little more understanding and sympathy over there, where I think we understand what actually happened. But again, I mean, it's an example of a case where, somebody didn't do exactly what you would think they would do
Right.
at that exact moment in time.
Yeah. Yeah. And my guess at the time that happened, and I think it's been confirmed, is that, because there were so many people partying in that house all the time, so many people in and out, and I thought the young woman was probably intoxicated or high and just misinterpreted, wasn't sure how to interpret what she saw when she saw him, and therefore just went back to bed. And
Yeah.
you
Yeah, I
know,
mean, very, very different scenarios.
yeah,
You didn't get a 911 call from her like this.
right.
It was not exactly that. Let's continue on with this call.
Near her chest, okay? You want to rip her shirt off. Okay? You need to kneel down by her side.
Oh my God, Ellie, please.
Listen, you can't freak out, sir, because you
Okay, I'm trying not to. I'm trying not to. Her shirt won't come off. It's a zipper.
Rip
Oh
it
my
off.
God, she stabbed herself.
Where?
She fell with a knife. Oh no, her knife's sticking out.
Again. Oh my God, she stabbed herself. A knife
That is
sticking
the
out.
weirdest thing. That is out of all of this, that statement, oh my God, she stabbed herself. Why would you go there? I mean, that's really weird. Yeah.
Whoever thinks when someone has a knife sticking out of their chest that they stabbed themselves? Again, I understand that she was going through some mental health problems. I get that. And yeah, I mean, people have stabbed themselves before. That is not completely impossible to do. You just can't do it once you're dead.
No, and it would certainly be a very bizarre, I would put it in the bizarre category for a female who is not floridly psychotic, as she definitely was not psychotic, to take a knife and start stabbing themselves. That's not how women do it, even if they want to kill themselves. People always hear about cutting their wrists, which in truth is not a very effective way to kill yourself. But people will do that sometimes. They'll slice their wrists. Nobody takes a knife and just starts stabbing. I mean, I've never seen a case where that's happened. I'm sure somebody could find one somewhere, but
yeah, I
but
can't
it's
say I've
weird.
seen any. I believe they're probably out there, but I don't think you have many where they're doing it after they're dead. Call me crazy, but I just don't think that happens. Let's listen to more.
What?
There's a knife sticking out of her heart.
Oh, she stabbed herself?
And that part too. There's a knife sticking out of her heart. How you're so sure? Like you were that sure in this moment in time that there's a knife sticking out of her heart specifically? I mean, is this was it a figure of speech? Are you just throwing it out there because it's in that area of the body, so you're thinking it's in the heart, or I don't know. There's just so many weird absolute statements that are being made. Again, I don't know the guy. He made this maybe just kind of how he communicates, and it's always a little off on kind of everything. I don't know. There's people like that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't look good. And with all these things that don't look good and look weird, again, this is just like candy for an investigator. I mean,
Exactly.
how would you not be looking at this further?
No.
I guess so. I don't know where she fell on it. I don't know.
And
Okay,
fell.
well, don't touch it.
Okay, so I just let her down. Here now. I mean, what do I do?
No, I mean, you can't. If the knife is in her chest, it's going to be kind of hard for you to do CPR at this time.
Oh no. Oh my goodness. Okay.
Police, which operator? 277.
Is someone coming here?
Yes, they are. You said 4601 Flat Rock, right?
Yes.
Okay, someone's on the way. And the knife is still inside?
Wait, sir, what?
The knife is still inside of her?
Yes, I didn't take it out.
Was it her chest or what area?
It's in her chest. It's like it looks like it's.
Maybe I'm misinterpreting, but it does feel like there was almost like, yeah, I didn't take it out. like there's almost a bit of humor interjected there. Yes, I did. Again, maybe he's just catching his breath. That could be an overreaction on my part, but it does feel a little weird.
Yeah.
It looks like it's right in her heart.
Okay, someone's on the way out there. Okay, just get.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Okay,
How old is
thank you.
she?
She's 27.
27. And there's no sign of life at all? Like, bend her to her arm.
No, please don't be. What?
Bend her to her arm and tell me if she responds to pain.
She's Ellie.
That's the 911 call.
Mm. Very, very weird.
I mean, if you were there let's say an investigator, let's say none of the insanity of lack of investigating this took place, and let's say an investigator is coming to you as a psychotherapist, as someone who is involved in the world of mental health and played that call back for you, going, what do you glean out of this as someone in that field? What would be, I know we talked about a lot of them, what would your answer be?
It just it has an odd flavor to it, and particularly the statements about I think she fell and hit her head. Why would you go there immediately? Why she's, oh my God, I see a knife. She stabbed herself. Why would you go there? It's just one of those things that you always look for. Does this all fit what you would imagine a scenario being? And yes, there are variables with how people respond to things, but some of the things that he's guessing give a feeling like, okay, here's the story I'm trying to sell you, and rather than I don't know what happened. There's something
Yeah.
horrible has happened. It's like, well, here's a possible story, and then here's another possible story,
Yeah.
and then, well, maybe she fell on the knife, so here's another story. And so in that sense, I would be looking at it more closely.
It's like throwing spaghetti at a wall, seeing what sticks. It feels
Seeing
like
what sticks,
what's
yes.
gonna resonate? What am I gonna get the reaction out of that? Somebody goes, maybe this is plausible.
Yeah.
If you're going through a situation like that, you're in trauma, maybe you are just trying to connect the dots everywhere you look, going, oh my gosh, I found this. Maybe that scenario is this. Maybe this is that. I mean, I guess that's not completely crazy, but it sure comes across as not sounding great. If someone's looking at, again, not saying that he had anything, but it's just answers. There just needs to be answers as to why was this the reaction? What were you thinking? What was going on here? What was going on with the relationship? Why was her ring on the counter? I mean, there's a lot of things that are going on in this case that, again, just never had basic answers asked of. I have no idea where the evidence is at today, or if there is any evidence, considering it was not considered a criminal case. So that knife may be around, it may not be. And I would guess maybe not, or scrubbed, or I don't know. There's just so many things here that I feel have probably already been lost in the mix. I don't know that we're ever going to truly get solid enough evidence to find out who did this, because it wasn't handled correctly to begin with.
Yeah, and the really horrifying thing is, how often does this happen and we never hear about it? There aren't family members who have the wherewithal and the fortitude, as the Greenbergs have had, to chase it like this. And my guess is it happens a lot.
And because, I mean, this happened in a big city. This happened with a lot of you think of things like this not necessarily happening there, because you have such an influx of so many people involved in the chain of command for an investigation, that it would be hard to bamboozle everyone if that's what is going on here, if this is some sort of a conspiracy or a cover-up. It'd be really hard to get a lot of people on board like that when they're coming from so many different places and there's so many crimes that are being investigated. I think of this more in a small town setting, where there's like just 2 or 3 people that really kind of need to be taken care of to get through something really dark, or to cover something up really dark, which we've seen in a lot of really small town cases. But this is not that. It certainly points to power. That's all I can figure out of this, is that there was some sort of power that somebody exerted, and it prevented an investigation from taking place. Or the investigators were just really, really stupid. I don't know which one it is, but now that civil suit is going on, maybe more will be dug up. I would be really concerned if I was the person who is behind this, because we know it wasn't Ellen Greenberg that is. So there's somebody else involved in some way, shape, or form. What shape, way, and form is the big question. But will we ever get the answers?
We would love to. We would love to know, and we'd love to see that person get the consequences that they deserve.